Chatted a bit yesterday about Zahen starting out as development as a support. We haven't made a support for a while. Okay, I guess he's adjusting because people were complaining that support hasn't been released in a few years. We already had a head start on wanting Zahen to be a Darkin with all-seeing motives. The first ironic ult Squad 5 tried was swinging his glaive to death mark everybody. Think death mark meets Zin ult. Oh, so they mean like Fireman Zim's ult to his allies? Is that what I'm understanding here? One of the issues with that was Zahen had a support economy, so he'd do this and just die. It wasn't a fatal flaw, but it wasn't quite cool enough to build a kit around. Another idea I tried was to embody the idea of sacrifice. Zahen would gain stats each time he got a takedown or died, because supports die a lot. Okay. Teammates weren't super enthusiastic about this though, even if it ended up being more powerful and useful. I guess because then you would just promote inting playstyle. I kinda get it. At this point, we decided the top lane might be a better fit, especially because some of the Xin parallels weren't quite working out from the support role. Zahen in top lane, we were taking a bunch of inspiration from Erlang Shen and Guan Yu throughout development. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what this means. Erlang Shen has a third eye, which is often known for being all-seeing and associated with enlightenment, higher levels of consciousness in Hinduism and Buddhism. Okay, well, this is some religious stuff. I have no idea. Some of the ideas were related to these motives. Squad 5 tried some ideas like ult makes him untargetable to non-targeted abilities. Oh my fucking god, bro. Oh my fucking god. I would rather just not actually read this. I would rather actually just not know they were actually considering this. Oh my fucking god. But this only lasted a test. So guys, if this lasted a test only, why is Gwen in the game? Why is Gwen W still in the game? Also tried versions where he learned about his opponents while fighting them. By the way, hot take, I actually think Gwen W is a worse designed ability than Mel W. Is that a hot take? I truly do think so. I get more frustrated from Gwen W than Mel W. Another version that was uninteresting was dodging attacks every X seconds. Wait, also tried versions where he learned about his opponents while fighting them. Another version that was interesting was dodging attacks every X seconds, but that became kinda hard to use and was already similar to old Pantheon passive. Okay, true. Kind of late in development, however, we had a pretty functional kit that was working well and was satisfying, but it still felt like it was missing something. And August suggested adding the Revive back as max stacks on passive. Is this really necessary to mention? Now August is just gonna receive so many fucking frats and flame again. GG, man. This just immediately clicked in playtest, so we kept it. We hope you'll all enjoy. Rek'Sai was erroneously listed as a buff yesterday. Sorry about that. Oh! So, okay, so it's a nerf. Oh, thank God. I was so confused. Why the fuck was Rek'Sai a buff? For those watching Worlds or playing high elo solo queue, Rek'Sai has been pretty much powerful in top lane, but we're okay with her jungle chunked. In particular, she's sustaining too much, so we're taking those aspects down. Yes! Good. I mean, it's bullshit that she attacks the minion like 3 times and her fury is like 200, right? And then she goes, then she borrows and she heals like, I don't know, 300 HP for free. It's just so stupid. Like, the gameplay pattern is very uninteractive. I'm gonna be honest, like, Rek'Sai top, I was very negative towards it the whole Worlds. I thought it was the most boring pick on top lane out of any champion at Worlds. I would rather watch Cassandra or whatever than Rek'Sai. It's just like a very boring pick at Worlds because it just can't lose lane. It doesn't do anything special. It's just like a scout because of W and free sustain. It's like you're watching a champion with infinite resource perma healing, completely uninteractive. ADC meta has been stale. We're looking at a bit of a shake-up. Makes sense. This is what I mentioned yesterday. Skarner heavily over nerfed. Yeah, you guys failed. Okay, cool. Next, let's see actually what they're doing. So Ahri, secondary bolt damage will go 0.3 to 0.4. Maximum W single target damage will go up a little bit. Honestly, placebo. Insanely placebo buff. This is mostly, I mean, it is a little bit of a buff, but the thing is, here's the thing. This is actually more of a buff to regular Ahri than it is to pro play / high elo Ahri. And the reason for this is because in high elo / pro play, Ahri players are smart and they max E second. In average play, Ahri players still max W second. So this will be more of an average player Ahri buff. And REW is already her weakest ability, which is honestly a good thing because it is by far the most unskilled ability on the kit. And doing a little bit of damage when this ability does kind of no damage already is like whatever. This is complete placebo. Jhin, AD 2, up by 2. So this is actually, I do wonder how big this is because Jhin doesn't auto as much as like a Caitlyn does, but at the same time he has crit on 4th auto attack, right? So 280, I don't know if it's a bigger buff than 280 on Caitlyn because that buff on Caitlyn was like 0.5% win rate. It was very small. But it is a stronger laning phase for Jhin. Passive move speed on crit will go also up by like 4% of attack speed. So I guess this buffs maybe a little bit more of builds where you go like you almost into like PD or rapid second, right? Okay, sure, whatever. W damage up by 10. Okay, so also mostly in early game buffs. So we're looking at mostly early game buffs here. I think the AD buff and the W damage buff are the bigger buffs here. Yeah, this is gonna be at least like 0.5% win rate, maybe close to 1%. Okay, cool. Misfortune, R damage per wave goes up. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I find this buff very lame. I don't know why we're buffing MFR. It's like literally the only strong ability about MF. Like, shouldn't we buff something else? Shouldn't we buff literally anything but R? It's kind of like what I'm thinking here. Because R is like the only ability that has like the wow factor on MF. It already does like insane damage in my opinion. I don't think we should be buffing this ability more. I think we should giving her buffs elsewhere. A Skarner AD growth, so it goes now to 5. So I don't know if this is like the biggest in the game. I don't know what other champion gets 5 AD growth per level, but this is very big, obviously. The Q cooldown will go now down by 1 second late, so at level 9 onwards he will have this unlocked. Okay, cool. I still don't know how this compares to like the old Skarner before the changes, but okay, step into the right direction for sure. Q3 max HP damage up by 1. Okay, so I'm assuming this is like 2% win rate maybe to Skarner, maybe more. I don't know how impactful the QC debuff is. Swain. So what are we doing on Swain? We're I don't like it. I don't like it. So we're buffing Swain's early game by 10, right? And if you play Swain, if you're a Swain player, you have to understand that Q of Swain is by far his strongest ability. Like this ability at like level 5, 7, and 9 when you get the spikes absolutely like demolishes people, and the ability stays really strong up till like minute 20 and then it starts falling off. Obviously it's E. What do you mean? This is E, it's not Q? Did they Swain wiki? You guys might be right. This is actually probably E, but it says wait. Oh, I'm just stupid. Okay, it's E. It just doesn't say. I don't know. I automatically assumed it was Q. My bad. So it's actually an E buff. Okay, a little bit happier with E because than Q. Okay, sure. And then mana cost goes down. So Swain does not really have mana issues, especially if you go like mana flow ban plus like Blackfire or anything. So the only thing that this mana buff does is it makes one build in particular better, which is a build where you don't go mana flow ban, but you only buy Roa. So that's a build that I think some players sometimes use, and it makes that build a little bit better. But overall, Swain just doesn't have mana issues, so this buff is completely irrelevant. Okay, the E damage, sure. It's kind of placebo buffs to Swain. I don't think they'll do a lot, honestly. You're picking Swain in the same spots. He's strong in the same spots. He's weak in the same spots. Tristana AD growth 0.4 up. Okay. A little bit more of a Midland buff compared to AD buff. It does in a way make her a little bit better with like buying more attack speed, because the problem with Tristana is that the AD and crit items are so much better than any attack speed item. Like basically the biggest bait you can do on Tristana is buy Kraken Slayer and skip crit because she needs crit so badly because of E as well, or buy any attack speed item, like buying PD before finishing LDR or buying PD before finishing Infinity or whatever. These are the biggest baits you can do in Tristana. Now this makes it a little bit less of a trap, but Tristana's best builds are still going to be just stacking a lot of AD, and then yeah. But it makes like the builds where you go like Navori second a little bit better and blah blah blah. Okay. Xayah, passive feather damage up by 5%. Okay, probably like a decent spot to buff Xayah. I'm not sure really where Riot could buff her. Maybe Q damage, but then maybe you bring back Poke Xayah. The passive damage buff seems to be okay. I wouldn't buff her E. I think it already does enough damage. Her W is already insanely strong spell too. So I think passive is probably like a fine spot to buff her. I also think this buff will not like make or break Xayah. A little bit of a love. Passive move speed per stack goes up by 0.5 on Zeri. So this is nice, but maybe the problem is that the passive, that you can't like retain the ultimate stacks, right? Because I believe this is when you ult and then you keep getting passive stacks to gain moon speed, right? I think the problem might be that she just can't retain the stacks because she needs to keep hitting something. But this maybe helps her a little bit, but it's still like, I don't think this is the reason why people are gonna pick a lot more Zeri. Aatrox, so we have the jungle Aatrox buffs now, so passive will have a lot better cap on monsters. Okay, cool. Q will now deal 40 bonus damage to monsters multiplied by sweet spots. Okay, fine. Depends on how fast the clear is, whether this will be viable or not. In any case, all these jungle champions that are getting like buffed here are also going to be lane buffs, right? When they do a jungle camp. I saw one idea that Riot should make jungle monster mods be only when you have smite, which is an interesting idea, but I think the problem I have with that is that then no jungle champion will ever be able, no lane champion will ever be able to jungle, and I think that's very wrong for the game, because laners can easily do minions, but laners can't do jungle camps. Junglers can easily do minions, laners cannot do jungles. To me, it's not equal. Right now, it's not even perfect, like balanced. I think junglers have a way easier time taking minions and not losing anything for it, while laners have a way harder time doing camps unless you're cheating with that, like you're playing Talia, you have really good monster mods, but some champions can't do a single camp, like looking at you, Akali. Akali like literally cannot do a single camp, even if she's like 6 items. It's too brutal. So, okay, we have Aatrox, okay, sure. Ambassador, we have some Q bonus monster damage. I remember Ambassador was actually like a slightly viable jungler when she was released, so I wonder how close she is to being a viable jungler. And you know, the thing about jungle is because jungle is so strong, I actually think there's so many champs in the game that literally just do better in jungle than they do in lane, as long as they have clear speed fast enough. Looking at like Teemo was a really recent case where before they nerfed him, he was actually just a better jungler than laner. Looking at like Nasus, I genuinely think Nasus is a better jungler than laner. Looking at like Mundo, I think Mundo is a lot better jungler than laner. I think like Zed, for example, a lot better jungler than laner. Like a lot of champs are this, and obviously they need to have monster mods usually or fast enough of a clear to be able to be a better jungler. But I feel like if a champion can be played jungle equally to lane, they will always be probably better in jungle. Especially scaling champions, because in jungle you get to basically skip levels for free. Like for example, like, I think Kayle, if she had a really good clear, would just be strictly better jungler than laner, because she's just less vulnerable in jungle and she would get to scale for free. Cho'Gath, armor down by 2. Okay, so the thing is, like, armor down by 2, not that big of a deal because he gets a lot of armor per level, as far as I know. R cooldown, what? This is Kai'Sa. Okay, this is Kai'Sa. Okay. So we're looking at Kai'Sa here. How do they ship patch notes that are completely wrongly written? Does nobody check this? So Kai'Sa will lose 2 armor and will lose 10 ultimate CD. Okay, fine. Fine. I actually like the armor nerf. I think the armor is the correct way to nerf Kai'Sa. I think she's too tanky she's too durable for an ADC. I wouldn't nerf her damage, I would just go for durability. I think this is correct. I think 3 armor is usually the lever that Riot nerfs it by 1% win rate, right? So this will be roughly 1% win rate together with the R nerf. Jace, melee, and range Q both deal 50% damage to monsters. Again, I dislike Jace jungle. I don't think it makes any sense from kit perspective, but you do you. Malphite W, now this 2x damage to monsters. Okay, sure. I guess they can only put that on W or E, I guess, right? AoE spell makes sense. Ornn, W active. Is this Ornn? I don't think this is Ornn. Is this Cho'Gath? Like, is this actually Ornn? Because I didn't write Ornn yesterday. I don't know if I don't know if this is correct. Ornn jungle, I guess, getting buffed. Okay, sure. I think Ornn from kit actually makes sense in jungle. Like, this actually makes sense. Riven passive also this monster damage. Okay, sure. But I think Riven will actually be nerfed soon. My prediction is that Riven will be nerfed in the next patch 2 or 3 because she's too strong. Sion Q monster mod up. What? We're buffing Sound Jungle? I swear Sound Jungle is not bad. Like, Sound Jungle is one of those things that is completely under the radar. It's actually pretty decent, and buffing it is very scary. I think from kit-wise, like, Sound makes a lot of sense in jungle too. Like, his spells and the way he stacks, like, everything is so perfect for him. Okay, so I'm a bit confused because the buff section, like, a lot of champs are missing. Like, weren't they buffing... Like, I don't know. Some champs are just missing. I don't know. I swear the list was a little bit different compared to yesterday. Like Choga jungle, right? They wanted to buff, but there's no Choga jungle in the list. I don't know. Weird. Champion nerfs. So Ashe will lose 5 to 15% attack speed. Okay, so she's gonna lose like a dagger. Yeah, okay, a little bit of an Ashe nerf. Honestly, I think not that big of a deal because Ashe already builds a lot of attack speed in the build, right? Like her best build is literally Kraken into PD most of the time. So because her build is so attack speed centric, this nerf will not hurt her as much. Caitlyn passive champion total damage will go from 60 to 120% to 60 to 100%. So this will basically nerf like these late game headshots where Caitlyn gets to like 5 items and she like auto attacks you 2 times and you die. Okay, makes sense. The thing about Caitlyn is you have to understand the champion has been getting indirectly buffed a lot by champions losing 0.5 armor growth. Like a lot of champions are losing a lot of armor per patch because it's Freak's favorite lever to balance champions now. So Caitlyn was getting like slightly indirectly buffed like a lot throughout patches. So Hwei, here's the big one. QE total damage will go down by 70. But it will... Wait, they changed this. On PB it was different. Hold on. So, I'm not sure exactly how this functions, because Hwei is very complicated when it comes to this stuff. So, if you read QE first has like an explosion that does damage, and then it has the ticks. So, I'm not sure exactly how this will be, because I think this counts both the things together. I'm pretty sure this is a huge nerf, because you need... how much AP you need to make it up. You need 700 AP, right, to make this up, for it to be equal, which will never be the case. It's a massive nerf, because it also breaks wave clear points. It breaks wave clear breakpoints for Hwei. At level 5, you will no longer be able to QE twice and kill the wave. And maybe even at level 7, it will also affect it. So QE, it's a very big nerf because QE is literally the best Q spell of Hwei. And the higher you go, I'm probably right was looking at data, like which spell is used the most. Like the way they balance Hwei is probably they look at the spell, which spell is like used the most and stuff, and then they balance it around. Like they buff WQ last time, the Moonspeed one, because it's underused, right? It was shit. People were using WE and W way more. Yeah, it's a big nerf, and it's Hwei's best spell, and the better you are at Hwei, the more you're affected at this nerf. I think an average Hwei player will be less affected by this. Oh well, whatever, unlucky. Plenty of stronger champs in the game than Hwei, but for some reason they're nerfing Hwei over like so many better mages. Jinx will get R damage nerfed by 50. And 25% bonus AD. Pretty brutal nerf. Yeah, pretty brutal nerf. A little bit bigger in late than in early game, but the R damage is more important in early game than it is in late. To be honest, Jinx R, does a lot of damage for an R. So I kind of get that one. To be honest, the way I would nerf this spell, and personally, the way I would nerf this spell is I would nerf it so if it's a close range Jinx ult, I would make it do less damage. And if it's a long range Jinx ult, I would probably keep the damage. That's how I would approach nerfing this spell, but... so Kai'Sa written again, twice, interesting. Neeko now transforms back into Neeko upon taking damage from a turret. Wow, massive. Good job. I'm a really big hater of the cannon trick that pro players can do on Neeko. Obviously, this will only affect pro play. Where Neeko transforms into cannon and can tank 10 tower shots, very uninteractive and bad gameplay experience playing against Neeko if she does that to you. I don't think this should be in the game. Very good. Rek'Sai, Fury gain of minions down, passive max HP healing also down by 1%? By 1%? Okay, man. Like, what is this number? We're nerfing it by 1%? Okay. Yeah, I mean, good nerf, but maybe needs more. Vladimir, HP down by 7. Won't affect him super a lot, although usually when Riot nerfs... wait, sorry, this is not HP per level, right? This is just flat HP. Okay, I had the wrong thing in my mind. Okay, so it's a very small nerf. The armor one is a bit of a bigger one. Again, 3 armor is usually 1% win rate nerf to a champion. Riot did say they're gonna try to nerf it more for top than mid, so that's why they nerf armor. Okay, fine. Face, 4 more armor, so this is gonna make him able to lane against Milis more, lane against like auto attacks on mid lane more as well, and also make him tank jungle camps more, right? Because they want to make him better jungler. Our cooldown will go up by 20 to 10. So this is to preemptively nerf a strong lever for Jungle Fizz, because if Jungle Fizz is good and he has a 100-second ult, I guess he would just spam gang people with ultimate, and the spell is really strong early. Passive damage reduction versus monsters will go up by 10. So his passive will absorb a lot of free damage here. I don't know how fast his clear is, but he will be a lot healthier in jungle for sure. And now W1 and W2 will deal 60 damage to monsters on hit, which seems to be quite a lot in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if this will be a decent jungler. So Mel, passive getting buffed again. That is insane. Do you know how shit this passive used to be, and now it's this strong? Like the numbers you see on Mel passive are absurd. Just compare it to Lux passive. This passive, like now we're moving into the direction where Hwei, Vel'Koz, and Mel have insanely such stronger passives than Lux. Lux passive is such a joke compared to this. Yeah, brutal buffs. These are really strong passive buffs. Like I honestly think this buff is bigger than this nerf. So the E duration nerf, yeah, it will be quite big. I think Mel E definitely roots for too long. Now, should the root be nerfed this much? I'm not sure, because this is a pretty brutal nerf for Mel E. Will Mel still be maxing E? Honestly, maybe. Because the thing is, even though the root duration is a lot weaker, your wave clear is still the same, your damage is still the same, your mana cost on the ability is still the same, Q is still draining too much mana. I think maybe you're still gonna do 3 point C, and then max Q, and then max W. Like maybe that's gonna be the new max order. But personally, I don't think this will completely kill off E max Mel. I don't think it's enough. But the passive buff is absolutely brutal. I think the champ will actually game win it. Dr. Mundo. Bug fix E active will now properly work, but the E passive max HP as a bonus AD will go up again. So that makes sense. They're compensatively buffing him. I can't speak anymore. Sulfur Aegis monster damage multiplier up by 0.4. So they said Sulfur Aegis or whatever is gonna be buffed, right? And then you look at the patch notes, and is this really the fucking buff we're doing to it, bro? Can't we just give the item better wave clear? Like Hollow Radiance kills the minions with the explosion. Can't we give this to Sunfire as well? I just don't understand why this item is kept so weak all the time. Now obviously this is the only champion that likes Sunfire in jungle is Zac maybe. I don't know. I think it's usually a bad jungle item anyway. Other tank items are so much better. I would rather see some tank items being a little bit nerfed and Sunfire being buffed. I don't know. Because for example, Rounduin and Frozen Heart are just such better items than Sunfire. Honestly, some good changes in here in the patch. Rek'Sai nerf, Neeko, some cool buffs here and there. That's the patch, but ultimately I still think most of the changes are quite placebo. So don't get overexcited.